start CPR, okay?
No, I know for a fact that she's dead because
Do you want to go ahead and try? It might still help, okay?
No, I don't think it'll help. No, I don't think it'll help.
This is 13-year-old Paris Bennett. He's refusing to perform CPR on his 4-year-old sister Ella. The 911 operator begs him over the phone to try and save her life. But there's a dark reason Paris won't cooperate, because he's hiding something truly horrifying. Just 5 hours before that desperate call, little Ella was happily living her normal innocent life with her big brother and their single mother, Charity Bennett. The siblings were best friends. Paris always looked out for his baby sister, watching over her as she slept, protecting her with all the love a big brother could give. Ella adored him completely. She trusted him with her whole heart. But everything changed on the night of February the 4th, 2007. That evening, the family's babysitter left early, while Charity was still at work, leaving 13-year-old Paris and 4-year-old Ella home alone. At 11:42 p.m, 911 received one of the most chilling calls imaginable from Paris himself.
Is she bleeding anywhere?
Yeah, she's bleeding all over the bed.
As police and emergency personnel rushed toward the Bennett home, the 911 operator managed to convince the teen to attempt CPR on his little sister.
Put your hands on her chest and then blow 2 breaths in her mouth, okay?
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
But what no one knew then was Paris was lying. He was pretending to do CPR, counting out loud into the phone to sound convincing, but never actually trying to save Ella's life. The story of how this tragedy came to be begins years earlier. In 1999, in the quiet town of Abilene, Texas, Charity Bennett was raising her son, 6-year-old Paris. From a young age, he showed signs of brilliance. His IQ was measured at 141, and he excelled in every class. Teachers adored him, and Charity saw him as a perfect child. To her, they were the perfect little family. But Charity's life had never been easy. Before Paris was even born, in 1993, his father suffered a severe psychological breakdown, leaving a young pregnant Charity to raise a child completely on her own. With little help from her own mother, Kyla, she was isolated, but instead of breaking, she found strength. Charity poured every ounce of love she had into her son, determined to give him a childhood full of the care and stability she never knew herself. For a while it worked. The bond was unbreakable. Life started to look up again. 4 years passed peacefully, but then a new chapter began. Charity became pregnant again. On April 12, 2002, little Ella Bennett was born. Charity vividly remembers the moment Paris first held his baby sister.
I remember putting Ella in his arms, and he was looking down at her, and I'm like waiting to see what the reaction was going to be. And he had this huge smile on his face, and he said to me, he goes, "Oh, Mama, she's beautiful."
As the children grew, their personalities couldn't have been more different. Ella was lively, outgoing, and playful, always ready to light up the room. Paris was quiet, more introverted, content to spend time alone reading and drawing. But despite their differences, he embraced being a big brother beautifully. Paris adored Ella, and Ella idolized him. The two were inseparable. Ella copied everything Paris did. He even picked out her clothes each morning and acted as her self-appointed fashion consultant. They filmed silly home videos together, laughing and playing. The life in the Bennett family household seemed filled with love. Meanwhile, Charity was working hard, 2 jobs as a waitress just to keep food on the table. As a single mum of 2, she was exhausted, but her goal was simple: to give her kids the best life she possibly could. Despite her long hours, she spent every bit of free time with them. Things seemed good until that terrible night, February the 4th, 2007. It was a Super Bowl Sunday, one of the busiest nights of the year at the sports bar where Charity worked. She was scheduled for a double shift, so she hired a babysitter for the evening. But later that night, while she was still working, police suddenly entered the bar asking for her.
Around midnight, cops were at the front door. They went to the manager's office. They called my name. They told me that my daughter had been hurt. And I was like, "You need to take me to Ella now."
Shocked and terrified, Charity begged them to take her home. She had no idea what was waiting for her there. As they drove, she tried to stay calm, praying her kids were okay. But the silence from the officers and the look on their faces filled her with dread. When they finally arrived, her home was surrounded by police cars.
Police everywhere, news trucks, neighbors. The entire street was lit up.
Neighbors stood in the street watching. Charity's heart sank. She pleaded with the officers to tell her what had happened. And then came the words no mother should ever hear. Ella was dead. Charity collapsed in grief as she saw her daughter's small body being carried out of the house in a bag zipped up to her chin.
She was in a body bag. It was zipped up to her chin. She had blood coming out of her mouth. I started screaming that I was sorry, that I wasn't there. They took her away.
And then I just remember just collapsing.
After the initial shock, she asked where her son was. The police told her that Paris was safe at the station waiting for her. Relieved to know he was alive, she went to see him. But when she finally saw her boy standing at the far end of the investigation room, something was wrong. She ran to hug him, crying, but he stood stiff. He didn't hug her back. A chill ran through her. As detectives began piecing together what had happened, they quickly realized the horrifying truth. Earlier that night, around 10:30 p.m., Paris had convinced the babysitter to go home early, claiming their mum was on her way and that he was mature enough to take care of Ella. Both statements were lies. Not long after the babysitter left, he attacked his little sister. When he called 911 later that night, he sounded frantic and tearful, insisting that Ella wasn't breathing. The operator begged him to do CPR, but he refused, saying it was too late. Eventually, she managed to get him to pretend.
Paris,
Yes?
take her off the bed and put her on the floor.
Okay, hold on.
What I want you to do is I want you to put your hands on her chest, okay? And I want you to push 30 times. I want you to count.
But when officers arrived, Ella was found face down. There were no signs of resuscitation, and he had never tried to save her.
And when I saw him, the only thing I felt was so happy to see my child. Because he was the only one left. I started hugging him and just cried forever. And then I realized at some point that he wasn't hugging me back. And that's when everything stopped making sense. I went to see him that night. I was like, I don't believe you anymore. I think you killed your sister on purpose. All of a sudden, he became a completely different person. It's like he no longer had to keep up this act anymore. He looked at me and he said, "Y'all are so stupid." He laughed at me.
Looking back, Charity wondered if there had been warning signs. Strange behavior she brushed off.
Paris, what is your problem? People that have had siblings, they tussle, they wrestle. Sometimes you have to pull them apart. 95% of the time, they got along well.
A week later, on February the 10th, 2007, Ella's funeral was held. Friends, family, and the entire Abilene community came to mourn the little girl who had brought so much light into the world.
Ella wanted to be a singer. I don't really know what to say at a time like this because
Ella, she was a pistol. And she always said what was ever on her mind. She brought life into everybody.
Charity was shattered. Not only had she lost her daughter, but her son was responsible. People in town whispered cruel things, blaming Charity for raising a monster. They scrutinized everything, the books Paris read, the games he played, what she allowed him to do. She couldn't go anywhere without judgment.
I remember people discussing what kind of books did Paris read and what kind of video games did he play. I believe Charity got the brunt of that because even if it's a book that he's reading, well, who got him the book? And even if it's a video game that he's playing, well, who allowed him to play that game?
Charity took a lot of heat for her situation. People were very cruel to her. She'd be in a shock. Oh, you're the mother that, oh, your son, and
In her devastation, Charity realized she'd lost both her children, one to death and one to something far darker. But even as the world turned against her, she was still Paris's mother. Desperate for answers, she had a psychologist evaluate him. The results were chilling.
I had a psychopath checklist youth version administered to Paris and then reevaluated. His assessor told me, "You deserve to know that your son is a sociopath."
Preparing for trial was agony. Charity had to play two roles at once.
When I would go talk to a district attorney, I had to be Ella's mother. When I went to talk to a defense attorney, I had to be Paris's mother. And if I tried to put Paris and Ella together in my brain, I really got close to insanity.
When the trial began, she sat in the middle of the courtroom, unable to choose sides.
At one point, sat in the middle because I can't choose sides. They're both my children.
Both of her children were gone to her in different ways. Ultimately, Charity made an impossible choice. She chose to love Paris still, but chose to love him differently. Not to save him from punishment, but to make sure he faced it and got help.
After Paris killed his sister, I was not trying to get Paris off. I wanted to get Paris help.
On August the 15th, 2007, Paris pleaded guilty to capital murder in juvenile court and was sentenced to 40 years, the maximum possible for a juvenile offender. He'll spend most of his life in prison.
I told him that I was always going to love him no matter what. And then I also promised him that I was always going to do the best job I could to be his mother.
I'm tired of the history repeating itself. I have been able to forgive Paris for the worst thing imaginable, but I'm never going to be comfortable with it. In order to have my own sense of peace, to have integrity, it's time to stop the pattern. The night that Ella died, I made her a promise that something meaningful would come out of her death. So I set up the Ella Foundation to prevent violence by sharing our story.
She founded the Ella Foundation in her daughter's memory, dedicated to preventing violence and supporting families affected by trauma and mental illness. Her mission is to ensure no one else endures what she did, to help children get real psychological support before it's too late. Through her advocacy, Ella's legacy lives on. Charity believes her daughter's memory continues to bring healing and hope to families everywhere. Can't change Paris, she said softly, but maybe by doing this, I can help change somebody else's child. Thanks for watching another episode. If you're still with me, hit a like, subscribe, stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.